Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we'll be studying important topic coming under reproductive system. Okay, so sex determination pathway is the first topic and it is a continuation of part 5 video friends. And the human embryo, the SRY gene codes for the unique transcription factor, and this transcription factor will activate a testis forming pathway about week 7 of development. So before say 7 weeks, the embryo gonad will be in indifferent state, that is it is a bipotential gonad, meaning that it is capable of developing either into testes or ovaries. Okay, likewise the earlier embryo have two system of duct. One duct name is Wolffian duct and another duct name is Mullerian duct. Both are capable of developing into male and female reproductive system. So once the SRY gene product stimulates the indifferent gonad to develop into a testis, the testis will start to produce two hormones, testosterone as well as anti-Mullerian hormone, which is also called as MAS, that is Mullerian inhibiting hormone. The testosterone and another one of the derivatives like dihydrotestosterone will induce the formation of other organ in the male reproductive system. Okay, whereas this anti-Mullerian hormone will cause a degeneration of Mullerian duct, as this Mullerian duct is not responsible for forming any testis forming pathway. Whereas in female who don't contain SRY protein, the ovary forming pathway will be activated by different set of protein. The fully developed ovary will then produce estrogen, which will triggering the development of uterus, oviducts and cervix from Mullerian duct. So let me explain you in a simple concept. So this is actually a mechanism, diagrammatic summary of normal sex determination. So this is a male pathway and this is a female pathway. In male there is a presence of SRY gene, which is a gene product after. So SRY gene product will stimulate the indifferent gonad to develop into testis. So from this, embryonic testis will produce a Mullerian inhibiting hormone or anti-Mullerian hormone, which will be digesting the Mullerian duct, so there is no female internal genitalia will be formed. It also produces testosterone, which will be helpful forming male internal genitalia, and dihydrotestosterone, which is again involved in forming male external genitalia, and the testosterone, which is also involved in forming male brain. Okay, so once this embryonic testis have been converted into adult testis, it will also again produce a dihydrotestosterone, but this dihydrotestosterone is involved in forming a male secondary sex characters. Okay, whereas in female, that is female don't contain SRY protein, the ovary forming pathway is activated by a different set of protein. So here you can able to see the SRY gene is absent, therefore embryonic testis will not produce no hormone, only the adult ovary will be producing estrogen, which is involved in forming female secondary sex character. So there are two ducts present in the embryonic gonad, Wolffian duct, which is responsible for forming male reproductive duct, and Mullerian duct, which is responsible for forming female reproductive duct. Next is testis have two enzymes, testosterone plus dihydrotestosterone, which is involved in forming other organs of male reproductive system, and an anti-Mullerian hormone, which is also called as Mullerian inhibiting substance, and this will cause a degeneration of Mullerian duct. Okay, next, this is one question that has been asked, you can easily answer friends. So biponad will be converted into embryonic testis only when the SRY gene is present. Okay, and which particular component is responsible so that no female genitalia will be formed? So again, MIS, which is also called as AMS, that is Mullerian inhibiting substance, which is also called as anti-Mullerian hormone. Okay, so only in the male this Mullerian MIS will be activated. Next, the dihydroxy. So the C is testosterone, which is all involved in forming male internal genitalia, that also in embryonic testis. Again they are forming, which is responsible, which component in adult testis is responsible for forming male secondary sex character? Again you should know it is dihydrotestosterone. So next, chemistry, biosynthesis and metabolism of progesterone. So progesterone is a C21 steroid, which is secreted by corpus luteum, placenta, and also in small amount by follicle. And also 2% of circulating progesterone is free, whereas the 80% will be bound to the albumin, and remaining 18% will be binding to a corticosteroid binding globulin. Next, this progesterone have a number of physiological effect, and these physiological effect will be made into action only if estrogens are present. Okay, so estrogen through the estrogen receptor will induce or upregulate the expression of progesterone. Okay, next this progesterone also convert the endometrium into a secretory stage in order to prepare the uterus for the implantation. At the same time, this progesterone also affects the vaginal epithelium and cervical mucus, making it thick and impermeable to sperm. Next, this progesterone biosynthesis requires two important steps. Step 1, the precursor of progesterone synthesis is cholesterol. So first the cholesterol will be converted into pregnenolone, which is catalyzed by an enzyme called cyclic, that is P450 side chain cleavage enzyme, and this enzyme is located in the inner region of mitochondrial membrane. Okay, then this particular pregnol compound will be converted into progesterone, and this pathway is catalyzed by an enzyme called 3-beta hydroxysteroids dehydrogenase, and this particular enzyme is present in smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so So next interesting fact is that the granulosa cells and theca cells which are present in ovary, female ovary, both in that particular cells, both the mitochondria and smooth endoplasmic reticulum will be undergoing a dramatic change in organization, which will increase as the concurrent release of dramatic. So both the mitochondria and so from mitochondria this enzyme is been originating, from smooth endoplasmic reticulum this enzyme is originating. So in the granulosa cell, the theca cell, they will be undergoing a change in organization in order to increase the progesterone synthesis, and these progesterone having a short lifetime, so they will be converted into another compound called preganadiol, okay, which will be conjugated to glucuronic acid and they will be excreted in the urine. Okay, so these are the level. This is an important slide, please make yourself our attention. The pregnancy does not occur mean the level of progesterone will be decreased, which will make the female to menstruate. The pregnancy occur, that is if the implantation and gestation occur means, then it will be progesterone will decrease a maternal immune response to allow the acceptance of pregnancy. Next, the time of pregnancy decreases contact. This progesterone will decreases the contractility of uterine smooth muscle. At the same time, this progesterone will be helpful. This particular effect will be contributing the prevention of preterm labor. Okay. Next is the onset of labor. At the time of labor, this progesterone level will start to reduce, thereby leading to labor. Okay. At the time of pregnancy, the level will be high in peak in order to prevent the preterm labor, whereas at the onset of labor, that is at the time of childbirth, the level will start to reduce. Next, prior to ovulation, that is pre-ovulative stage, the lower progesterone will be present, that is 2 nanogram per ml. I'll tell you why the reason. Okay, so after ovulation or in the luteal phase, the progesterone will be double up, that is the volume will be entering into greater than 5 nanogram per ml. Okay, next, the time of lactation during pregnancy, it will generally inhibit the lactation. This progesterone will inhibiting the lactation during pregnancy. Okay, whereas milk production after this pregnancy, so after the pregnancy has been happened, that is once a childbirth has been happened means, the progesterone will start to fall. The fall in progesterone level following a delivery is one of the main mechanism to activate a hormone called prolactin, which will trigger the milk production. And also if the consumption does not occur means, the corpus luteum will start to break down after 9 to 10 days of ovulation, which will be causing the progesterone level to fall and the period to start. Okay, so the next thing is that chemistry and biosynthesis and metabolism of estrogen. So the naturally occurring estrogens are 7-beta estradiol, estrone and estradiol. These estrogen are C18 steroid and they are secreted mainly by granulosa cells of ovarian follicle, corpus luteum and placenta. Okay, next the biosynthesis depend upon an enzyme called aromatase, that is aromatase code word is CYP. CYP means cytochrome P450 enzyme, which converts the aromatase enzyme is involved in converting testosterone to estradiol as well as androstenedione to estrone. Okay, next, the hormone replacement therapy managing the symptom associated with menopause are using this estrogen as a drug. Okay, so these are the 4 major natural occurring estrogen in women. So estrone is responsible for the time of menopause, estriol is during pregnancy, and estradiol is usually present in non-pregnant female. Okay, so after the different form of estrogen are synthesized by androgen, specifically by testosterone and androsterone by an enzyme called aromatase. Okay, so estrogen in female are produced primarily by ovaries only during pregnancy as well as in placenta. Okay, this FSH hormone stimulates the ovarian production of estrogen by granulosa cell of the ovarian follicle as well as corpus luteum. So the effect of estrogens include in breast, they will be involved in development of mammary gland tissue as well as it will be forming a mammary ducts during pregnancy. In estrogen, they will be involved in proliferation of endometrial cell as well as it will be thickening the endometrial lining, thereby preparing the uterus for pregnancy. At the time of contraception or during contraception, one of the derivative called ethinyl estradiol, it will be employed as a drug in preventing the ovulation during menstruation cycle. And in vagina, they will be involved in proliferation of epithelial mucosal cells of vagina and vulva. Okay, so in the absence of the estrogen is not present in a particular female, of the level is being reduced means the vaginal and vulval mucosal epithelium will become thin and the presence with the symptoms of dryness. Okay, in bone, the estrogen will help in forming a long bone as well as fusion of epiphyseal growth plate. Okay, next thing is that it will also preventing the osteoporosis in postmenopausal women. In cardiovascular system, this estrogen increases a HDL level and as well as triglyceride level, whereas it will decrease the LDL level and total plasma level, thereby reducing the risk of coronary artery disease in early use of postmenopausal women. Next, in normal non-pregnant women, the estrogen secreted is significant quantity only by ovaries, although minor amount are secreted by adrenal cortex. Okay, during pregnancy, the tremendous quantity of estrogen are secreted by the placenta. Okay, so the principal estrogen which are secreted by ovaries, beta estradiol. So the next thing is with regard to pathway. So here I had given you a pathway. Please take a note of remembering all those things. Okay, so here also either you can study this pathway or that pathway. Next, the negative feedback regulation of secretion of actions of gonadotropin-releasing hormone in male, that is nothing but inhibition of anterior pituitary secretion of LH and FSH by testosterone. So here you can able to see from CRS there is a option called hypothalamus which will be secreting growth hormone. From growth hormone, that is it will be stimulating anterior pituitaries to secrete LH and FS. Okay, so LH it will be acting on Leydig cell and FS it will be acting on serotonin cell. So serotonin cell are nothing but they are nutritive cell which is present inside the seminiferous tubule and they provide a nourishment to male germ cell. These cells also help in the process of spermatogenesis. Next, the Leydig cells are present outside the seminiferous tubulus, okay, that is in the intestinal cells, and they secrete an androgen hormone like a testosterone. Serotonin cells are stimulated by FSH whereas Leydig cells are stimulated by LH. So this you should know. Okay, so once the LH is stimulated, Leydig cell will secrete a testosterone which will be having an androgenic effect, whereas FSH will stimulate a serotonin cell which will produce another hormone called inhibin. Okay, so this inhibin actually inhibit both the anterior pituitary, so ultimately the LH hormone and FS hormone production will be stopped. It also inhibit a hypothalamus to produce gonadotropin-releasing hormone. Okay, in other words, the testosterone it also have a negative effect of anterior pituitaries to stop the production of LS, as well as it will be stopping the action of gonadotropin releasing factor. So secretion of gonadotropin like LH, FS in male depend upon the release of gonadotropin releasing hormone from hypothalamus. The testis exerts a negative feedback action on hypothalamus pituitary unit. So this entire unit is called as hypothalamus pituitary unit. The testis produces steroids, mainly testosterone in most of the species, as well as this testis also produce a glycoprotein hormone that is inhibin. So all those are responsible for feedback regulation. So whenever the testosterone hormone become too high, this automatic negative feedback effect operating to hypothalamus anterior pituitary gland will reduce the testosterone secretion back to normal. Conversely, the testosterone secretion is very too low, means it will allow the hypothalamus to secrete a large amount of gonadotropin releasing hormone which will be stimulating anterior pituitaries to secrete LH, FSS, as well as there will be increasing in testicular testosterone secretion. Okay, next how the estrogen and progesterone are synthesized by thecal cell and granular cells of ovary. The process occurring in this particular part of the ovary, friends. So thecal cells are granular cell and granular cells are present in ovary. So this is for the thecal cell and granular cell. So LH and FS from the anterior pituitary gland will activate the thecal cell as well as granular cell to produce estrogen and progesterone hormone. So thecal cell they have a LH receptor. So here you can be able to see where the LH hormone will bind, whereas the granular cell express both the FSH hormone as well as LH receptor. Okay, so here you can be able to see both the FSH receptor and LH receptor is produced. So after the binding of luteinizing hormone to luteinizing receptor present on thecal cell, it will be stimulating the uptake of cholesterol from bloodstream. So this is what the bloodstream. So from bloodstream the LDL will be bind to a receptor. Okay, so once it bind, the cholesterol will be converted into pregnol, the pregnol will be converted into progesterone, and next it will be converted into androgen. In thecal cells, that the enzyme, this particular thecal cell lack aromatase enzyme, so this androgen cannot be converted into estrogen. So what they will do, the androgen from thecal cell will diffuse through the bloodstream into granulosa cell, and in the granulosa cell only the androgen will be converted into estrogen by an enzyme called aromatase P. So in order to convert it, the FHS need to be bind to its receptor. So this is what the thing. Next important thing is that the granulosa cell lack 7-alpha hydroxylase and 7,20 lyase enzyme, but these granulosa cell are aromatase. Whereas the theca cell they express all the enzyme, in addition to that it also express 7-beta hydrox HSD enzyme also, friend. But this theca cell doesn't have aromatase enzyme. So as a result, both the granulosa cell and theca cell are essentially producing estrogen in ovaries. Okay, so the granulosa cell and theca cell present in ovary are site of producing estrogen and progesterone hormone. Theca cell will respond to luteinizing hormone as well as produce the androgen as well as progesterone in the pre-ovulating stage. So they will be producing the progesterone in the pre-ovulating stage. The granulosa cell respond to follicle stimulating hormone and produce estrogen. So this thecal granulosa interaction are the example of mesenchymal epithelial cell interaction. Okay, so LH will stimulate the thecal cell to produce androstenedione from cholesterol. This will be this substance having a weak androgenic activity, but this particular substance will be acting as a precursor for produce more potent androgen like a testosterone. Next, a theca intestinal cell will supply this particular compound to this particular compound. The other name is androstenedione. So androgens are also called as androstenedione. Okay, next this will be taken by granulosa cell to provide a substrate for aromatase. Okay, so granular cells in the large pre-ovulating follicle they also respond to LHS and produce LH, and they will producing progesterone hormone. So luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone stimulate adenylyl cyclase via G protein coupled receptor. So the cyclic adenosine monophosphate that is generated from ATP will activate a protein kinase A in order to stimulate the expression of their respective serogenic enzyme. So this LH hormone and FSH will be stimulated by an adenyl cyclase enzyme via this G-protein coupled receptor. Then this cyclic adenosine monophosphate will be generated from ATP, and this will activate a protein kinase A, which will stimulate the respective stereogenic enzyme. Like what are the enzymes that are required to make progesterone, estrogen. Okay, next thing, in granulosa cell, the FSH binding to FHS receptor will lead to an activation of AKT pathway, which is also called as protein kinase B, by acting via phosphatidyl ionosyl as a secondary messenger, which will augment the aromatase expression, because aromatase is an enzyme which is present in granulosa cells and absent in theca cells. Okay, next thing, this granulosa cell in antral follicle, which is also called as secondary follicle, are the only target for this FSH hormone. Okay, no other ovarian cells will have this FSH receptor. Next, the granulosa cells also respond to the signal coming from the LS stimulation like a theca cell, but theca cell can directly uptake a LDL cholesterol from the blood, but granulosa cell cannot able to uptake the LDL cholesterol from thing, because near to granulosa cell there is a presence of basal laminar basement membrane, which will be inhibiting the uptake of cholesterol production from the blood. So what this granulosa cell will be doing means, it will be cannot able to uptake the LDL membrane due to presence of basement membrane. As a result, this granulosa cell are unable to make a progesterone before ovulation. Okay, so what it will do means, after the occurrence of ovulation, so ovulation means rupture of follicle and release of egg. Okay, so after the ovulation, your corpus luteum will make a little progesterone. Okay, so after once a rupture of follicle has been occurred and the eggs has been released means, after this process, this particular thing will be removed. This particular basement membrane will be start to remove from the granulosa cell. Okay, so then it will now the blood vessel will be providing LDL to granulosa cell. Okay, but the granulosa cell have no enzyme to synthesize progesterone. The enzymes that is needed for synthesizing progesterone is present in thecal cell. Okay, so here you can able to have a reference of this particular diagram, friends. So better I will be pasting over here. Okay, which will be very much helpful for you at the time of revision also. Here you can able to see. So what this granulosa cell will be doing means, this a particular granulosa cell will be taking a help from a thecal cell which have an enough amount of enzyme, okay, to make progesterone. Because here itself I had just mentioned you what are the enzyme, that is the granulosa cell lack these two enzymes which are very much helpful for making progesterone. Okay, so what it will have, so both the granulosa cell and thecal cell, they have to interact well to produce both the estrogen and thing. Next, a feedback regulation of ovarian cell function. From hypothalamus, the GnRH is produced, which will stimulate the anterior pituitary to produce LH and FSH. Okay, so estrogen will inhibit the secretion of both the LS-FS secretion and also GnRH. Okay, so inhibin is a hormone or a substance which is produced from granulosa cell, and this inhibin will inhibit the FSH secretion. So as a result, the thecal cell are regulated by the LH hormone, since the thecal cell have LH receptor, whereas the granulosa cells are regulated both the LH hormone as well as the FSH hormone. Okay. Next, the plasma concentration of gonadotropin and ovarian function. Okay, so during each month of female sexual cycle, there is a cyclic increase or decrease of both the LH and FSH, and the ovarian changes that occur during the sexual cycle will depend completely on the gonadotropin hormone like FSH and LH. Okay, in the absence of both the hormone, the ovaries will be remain inactive, which is the case throughout the childhood. So when almost no pituitary gonadotropin will be secreted. So the time of 9 to 12 years, the pituitary will begin to secrete progressively more amount of FSH and LS, which will be leading to the onset of normal monthly sexual cycle at the age of 11 to 15. That is, this period change is called as puberty. On the first time of menstrual cycle is called menarche. So you see this diagram, friends. So see this diagram. So this is a period. So before ovulation, both the FS LHS hormone will be in a reduced the synthesis will be in a basal line. But after ovulation, at the time of ovulation, the LH hormone will be peak. After ovulation, both the hormone will be started to decrease. Whereas if you take both the estradiol progesterone hormone, before ovulation, estradiol will be in increased amount, whereas progesterone is decreased amount. Why? What is the reason why the progesterone is increasing after ovulation? So ovulation is a process of releasing the egg. So at the time of releasing of the egg, the basement membrane present before to granulosa cell, what it will be erased, or it will be, so here I just mention you as a basement membrane which is preventing the synthesis of progesterone. So what the granulosa cell, so after ovulation the egg will be ruptured, so ultimately the basement membrane will also be started to degenerate, or it will be removed. So at this time point granulosa cells can take the LDL cholesterol and they will be starting to produce more number of progesterone. So that's the reason why the level of progesterone started to increase after ovulation stage. Next, the rate of secretion of estrogen and progesterone HCG during different stages of pregnancy. So please draw this diagram in your notebook. So first, progesterone is largely produced by corpus luteum until about 10 weeks of gestation. So in the early pregnancy, the maternal level of 7-alpha hydroxyprogesterone. So this 7-alpha hydroxylase activity is nothing but they are important of producing both the glucocorticoid as well as sex hormones. Okay, so by the 10th week of gestation, this component has returned to baseline level, indicating that the placenta will have a little amount of 7-alpha hydroxylase activity. Okay, then in the 32nd wave, there is a second more gradual rise. So here you can able to see in the 32nd day there is an increase in an amount of 7-alpha hydroxyprogesterone. Okay, so these are the things. So by the 10th week the progesterone hormone will be, so this black color thing is a progesterone hormone. So 20th week there will be basal there will be basal synthesis of progesterone only. So the amount will be started to rise at the 32nd week. Okay, next is progesterone also important in suppressing the maternal immunological response to fetal antigen, thereby preventing the maternal rejection of trophoblast, and it also prepares and maintains the endometrium. Next thing, the pregnancy occurs, the human gonadotropin-releasing hormone is released, thereby maintaining the corpus luteum and allowing to maintain the level of progesterone. By the 7 to 9 weeks, the placenta will begin to produce progesterone in the place of corpus luteum, and this particular shifting process is called as luteal placental shift. After the luteal placental shift, the progesterone will start to rise further and may reach up to 100 to 200 nanogram per ml. So you should definitely note this. Next, the estrogen. So placenta does not have all the necessary enzyme to make a estrogen from cholesterol. So what because the human trophoblast membrane will lack an enzyme called 7-alpha hydroxylase, as well as they cannot able to convert C21 steroids into C19 steroid, which are an immediate precursor of estrogen. Okay, to bypass this effect, there is another glycoprotein hormone called dihydroisoandrosterone sulfate DHA, which is produced from a fetal adrenaline. Okay, it is produced from a fetal tissue and it will be converted into estradiol by trophoblast. Okay, so in the pregnancy, this particular DHA is critical since it rescues the corpus luteum for involution, because corpus luteum is necessary for making a little amount of progesterone, and it also maintains a progesterone secretion by ovarian granulosa cell. So estrogen level will climb throughout the pregnancy, increasing 30-fold by the time of childbirth or labor. So estrogen have following action, like they suppress the FSH and LH production, effectively preventing the ovulation. So this is a function of biological basis of hormone birth control pill. Next, it will induce the growth of fetal tissue, as well as it is necessary for maintaining the fetal lung and liver. Next, they also promote a fetal viability by regulating the progesterone production, as well as triggering the fetal synthesis of cortisol. This cortisol is helpful for maturation of the liver, lung and endocrine organ like thyroid gland and adrenal gland. Next, this estrogen is also stimulating the maternal tissue growth, leading to uterine enlargement and a mammary duct expansion time of childbirth. Next with respect to HCG, so in the pregnancy, the placental production, so HCG, here you can able to see the graph, so always compare a graph only, then if you remember this graph alone, you can be very much helpful. So the pregnancy placental production of HCG is at a peak between the 8th to 10th week of gestation, and this particular tends to plateau, that it will start to decrease at a lower level of a remainder period of pregnancy. So this human gonadotropin hormone after the particular 16th week, it will start to decrease. Early on pregnancy, the HCG levels are low, but they soon started to rise and double every 2 days, peaking between the weeks of 7 to 12th week. The HCG level will be peak. Okay, next they will be failing back to normal at the second semester. Next, the hormone synthesis in adrenal cortex. So adrenal cortex is the outer region, also known as the largest part of adrenal gland. It is divided into 3 zones: zona glomerulus, zona fasciculata, zona reticular. So each zone is responsible for producing specific hormone. Like if you take zona glomerulus, which is responsible for making aldosterone, and here I had given a mechanism of aldosterone. So from cholesterol, pregnol will be produced. From pregnol, progesterone will be synthesis, and this progesterone will be converted into deoxycorticosterone, and this deoxycorticosterone, under the influence of aldosterone synthase enzyme, it will be converted into corticosterone. Next, and another enzyme called aldosterone synthase and Tensine 2 enzyme will convert this corticosterone into 18 hydroxycorticosterone. Next again aldosterone synthase enzyme will be activating, which will be converting this 18 hydroxycorticosterone and aldosterone. Okay, zona fasciculata, cortisol is secreted, friends. So in this particular zone, cortisol will secrete glucocorticoids like your corticosterone, cortisol. Next the zona reticularis. Actually this particular zone, there is a production of weak male hormone, or these hormones are mainly a precursor hormone to produce androgen like your DHEA and DHEAA, and also androstenedione, which are a precursor of production of testosterone. And the next thing is that this particular zona glomerulosa is also lacking in 7-alpha hydroxy activity, and this zona glomerulosa can convert, is the only zone which can able to convert the corticosterone to aldosterone, because this zona glomerulosa is the only zone that is present on the adrenal cortex, which contains an enzyme called aldosterone synthase. Okay. So this is again an important pathway they had mentioned you. Please make a note of the enzymes involved and how different things are thing. So progesterone is also turned as a precursor to synthesis of mineralocorticoid aldosterone. That's what a thing I had mentioned you over here. Next is androstenedione. Okay, so here it had been synthesized. So this particular thing, it can be converted either into testosterone, estradiol. So which highlight the important role of progesterone and testosterone synthesis. Next, this is what a question has been asked. So this they are asking question from steroidogenic pathway in zona glomerulosa of adrenal cortex. So from this pathway the question has been asked. Okay, so from cholesterol it will be converted into pregonol will be converted into progesterone. Next the progesterone will be converted into 7-dehydrocorticosterone, and this particular compound will be converted into corticosterone. Okay, next they are asking the cholesterol will be converted into pregonol, it will be happening in mitochondria, whereas this pregonol will be converted into progesterone, which will happen in smooth endoplasmic reticulum, friends. Okay, next is progesterone will be converted into 7-deoxycorticosterone, which is happening and which was also happening under the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Next is other mechanism, that is converting 11-dehydrocorticosterone to aldosterone. All the mechanism will be happening in mitochondria. Next is menopause. The human ovary will become unresponsive to gonadotropin with advancing age. This under-responsive is associated with and probably caused by a declining number of primary follicle, which became precipitous at the time of menopause. Okay, next the ovary can no longer produce progesterone as well as 7-beta estradiol. Okay, next the estrogen is found only by small amount by aromatization of androstenedione into peripheral tissue. The uterus and vagina gradually become atrophic, as well as the negative feedback effect of androgen and progesterone will be reduced, and also the secretion of FSH will be increased, and also the LH hormone will be moderatingly high. So thank you friends, thanks for watching this video. If you have still any doubts with regard to unit number 7, please help me in the next video. The next topic which we are going to cover is evolution. So thank you friends. So I totally uploaded 9 parts of the system physiology animal notes, that is unit number notes. Please have a look of all those remaining part. Okay, thank you friends. All the best for your upcoming CSIR examination. Thank you.